Now, welcome to BizTech's Asia's hottest startup show. Now, in this show, we feature hot startups across Asia, sharing their entrepreneurial journeys and sharing with us why they may be just maybe Asia's next tech unicorns. Now, today, the featured hot startup in Asia is Darwinbox, a software as a service HR tech platform, and its sales and marketing head and co founder, Jayant Paleti. Jayant, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, Brian.
Now, Jayant, give us an overview of what you do and your journey so far since you started in 2015.
So at Darwinbox, Brian, we are a enterprise-focused HR technology platform on the cloud that automates the entire hire-to-retire lifecycle for a company. So starting from planning and budgeting for your workforce to taking care of the first touch point that a potential employee has with the company, which is that recruitment, onboarding, to handling the core master data, the company structure, the core workflows, those pieces, to more operational parts of HR, like how do you manage time, how do you manage attendance, how do you manage compensation and payroll, to the more strategic pieces, right? How do you drive better engagement? How do you drive rewards? How do you measure, track, and enhance performance? How do you do advanced talent management, succession planning, career planning, those pieces? How do you enable learning? And a layer of analytics across the life cycle that'll give you insights and information. So that's what we do. We cover the whole stack. And our target segment, Brian, like you called out, has always been enterprise and mid-market in the Asian region. And in terms of our own journey, like you called out, 2015, three of us that came together to start the company. One of them is me. Me and my co-founder Rohit were childhood friends.
Okay.
And the other co-founder Chaitanya and I worked together, and that's how we met each other. And I think what prompted us to do this, right, specifically, and if you've seen our three backgrounds, I was a banker by trade. Rohit was a strategy
That's right.
consultant
Yeah.
at Rohit was a strategy consultant at McKinsey, and my co-founder Chaitanya was a HR consultant at EY's People Advisory Practice. And there's nothing common between our backgrounds. The only
But did you
thread that was
see the pain point there? You saw the pain points in the industry because of your various backgrounds?
in fact, what we saw was the only common thread between our backgrounds was the fact that we served Asian enterprises as counterparties, right?
Okay.
And what we saw was for any large company to run, there are three primary systems of record. The first is a system of record of your finances, the second is a system of record of your employees, and the third is a system of record of your customers, right? And this is where the primary or the first waves of digitization happen in the company. And the second system of record, we realized that enterprises in the region were not happy with the products that were serving them on account of a few reasons, right? The first, remember that in HR especially, the importance of the local context cannot be underestimated. And what I mean by that is, for example, uh, Indonesians think a certain way, Filipinos have a certain mind frame, and Asians think a certain way, which is why their local culture plays a very, very important role in framing policies. And unlike other
And not
categories
only
also,
Jen, it's also the regulatory framework that then frames the HR requirements locally.
absolutely, sir. The local labor laws, etc., also have an impact on how policies get framed. And what that means is because, and like we called out, right, this is a system, and unlike other systems, right, for example, unlike categories like developer tools, unlike categories like collaboration, where software and best practices can be the same globally, HR local context matters, right? Asia
Yes.
hierarchy is real. Asia power distance is reasonably high, which is number of approvals that you need to get to a certain outcome. Very interesting workflows like say absconding or no show that don't exist in the West, exist in the region, right? So many nuances like this, on account of which we realized the international platform like so SAP, Oracle, Workday, their ability to serve the needs of the region has not been very, very optimal. And when we asked a customer, hey, why have you taken them? The usual answer we used to get was, who else is there? We had no choice but to take them. I think that is what got us thinking about the geography. And when we went deep, when we figured out what the needs of the region were, a few other things came out, right? For example, the importance of mobility. Remember that ours is a platform that touches everybody in the company, from the promoter, from the MD, from the CEO, right down to the last employee on the ground. And for 50-60% of the workforce in the region, their only way to access a system like ours is through a mobile phone. Right? Unlike in the West, where everybody has access to a laptop. And note again, and one of the things that we were very, very clear on was the fact that from an employee, manager, or a HOD perspective, the ability to complete everything from the palm of their hand becomes so crucial for driving adoption in the region. Ultimately, you want to build a product that is used by the rank and file of the organization.
And I suppose you're catching up on a trend as well, because again, with a lot of across Asia, and we're talking about, say, ASEAN as an example, many economies basically leapfrog. So you've gone away from no telephone access to then doing everything on your mobile phone. So you even skip that whole laptop phase and do all your business on. So you've really capitalized on that trend.
Absolutely, Brian. Yeah. And like I said, we've taken a very mobile first approach to building anything. If there's a use case, we first think of how do you do it on mobile before you do it on the web app. That's the approach we've taken. We do it on both.
Darwinbox is mobile first. That's what I need to think about.
Absolutely.
Now, Jayant, you from an HR tech standpoint, HR tech is a tough business to be in, but you have replaced or displaced solutions like Oracle, Workday, and SAP as part of your software sales. Now, I did some research, and you had a score of something in the region of 4.6 stars out of 5 in Gartner's Peer Insights. Now, congratulations. So do you look at SAP, Oracle, and Workday as your key competitors?
And Brian, from the beginning, from day zero, even when we were a white piece of paper, right, we architected or built the product to cater to enterprise or large enterprise context. So, and like I said, because of our backgrounds as well, what we understood was actually Asian large enterprise context. And this is why the product got architected that way from day zero. And by virtue of the segment that we operate in, our direct competitors are SAP as a flagship HR platform called SuccessFactors, Oracle as a flagship HR platform called Oracle Fusion, and then there is Workday. And that is who we that's who we go head on against. And in the target
job, special, Jayant. Are you cheaper, better, faster? What are you? What's the secret sauce?
Absolutely. And just to call out there, Brian, in the target geographies that we operate in, right, which is Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East, we've now grown to become the fastest growing player in the HR SaaS space, right? And
you did answer the question. What makes you special? Why are you cheaper? Are you better than them? Are you what's the secret sauce?
We solve for the Asian enterprise context in a far superior manner than they ever can. And like I said, the 3-4 examples that I can cite are: one, are you building something that is relevant locally, right? Remember that cloud as an idea is that you're the same product globally. And if your roadmaps are getting decided in a California or a Germany, are you necessarily building for this region? And like I said, that was the biggest one, right? And for us, that is something that we caught on and we built to solve for the region's needs. The second, intensely mobile focused. Like I said, the idea was not to build a platform that's not used by the rank and file of the company. And we've seen enough examples of that. And again, saying mobile first is not enough. Let's say having a mobile app is not enough. For example, does your mobile app work in basic smartphones that exist in the region? Not necessarily that it is 400 MB in size. It only works on an iPhone. Right? Does it work in the low bandwidth conditions of a Java? Does it work in basic smartphones that exist in the
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. For us, innovation is also that we made one of the lightest mobile apps, where every part of the life cycle from an employee's perspective can be done from the palm of his hand. That is innovation. And what that has led to is we've actually built a product that is used, that is adopted. Our adoption scores are among the highest in the region. In fact, we track adoption like a consumer company tracks adoption, because like I said, ours is a system that touches everybody in the company. So 95% plus MAUs that we've seen. The third is an important focus on user experience and design. And again, Brian, for the same reasons as mobility, right? This is a system that touches everybody. And we were clear that while we had enterprise grade functionality, while we benchmark ourselves in terms of functionality with some of the competition I talked about, in terms of user experience, we benchmark ourselves with a Gojek, with an Uber, with a Facebook.
Okay, interesting. Why?
Because like I said, it's an app that touches everybody. And for that to be used, let's make it as consumerish as possible without the need for a manual. Like you go to an app store, download Uber, open it, and you know exactly what to do. We did that with Darwinbox. Every page of Darwinbox you come to, you know exactly what you have to do. And what that has led to is greater adoption, greater usage. That leads to greater data. Greater data is better analytics. That's the benefit that comes.
Jayant, you've got 500 plus customers. I think spread out over 60 countries. And I think in terms of users of those customers, you have over 1 million users using your products. Now, where are you? You're spread out across all these markets. And of course, your virtual, your presence is virtual as well. Where are your physical presence? I understand that you have operations in Singapore as well. Where else?
Absolutely. In terms of a physical presence, Brian, we have meaning our international headquarters is, of course, Singapore. We have a presence in Indonesia. We have a presence in Philippines and Vietnam. We're opening an office in Thailand this quarter. Then we have offices in India, where we have in between Hyderabad and Bombay, we have our product and tech development centers. Again, that's an area where we continue to invest a lot into. For example, we started our AI and deep tech lab in 2019. We continue to invest in those capabilities between both these cities.
So your go-to-market model is basically operating offices. Are you working on a channel strategy as well in other markets?
So historically, we've grown predominantly via direct sales.
Okay.
With people on the ground, and because of the segment that we operate in, Brian, it is enterprise stroke large enterprise. The average Darwinbox customer has 3,000 employees.
Okay.
So which is why it is a very solution-led sale, which is we spend time with the client to understand what their context is, what their pain points are, what are the specific HR problems that need to get addressed, that can be addressed through HR tech, and then try to come back to them with a solution that solves for their context really, really well.
So what is a typical implementation time for Darwinbox?
Implementation time is, so post-sale, our average implementation time historically for the first go live has been between 3.5 and 4 months.
That's quick, very quick. So that's obviously a quick, that's a strong value proposition compared to some of your other large competitors.
Absolutely. Time to value is an important metric that we measure success on.
Okay, now you've claimed to have grown 200% during the pandemic. What was 2020 like for you overall?
2020, meaning the pandemic aside, the scare aside, the worry aside, the uncertainty aside, right? I think we ended the year very, very, very strongly. And just a few numbers there, Brian. Since our last round of funding, which was, I think, a shade over 5 quarters ago, from then to now, we've roughly grown by 300%. The last round we announced that in September 2019. That was a round of capital that we raised from Sequoia. And from then to now, roughly we've grown by 300%. Specifically during the pandemic, what we've seen, Brian, is in this region, right? The importance of being digital, while that was well understood even before in the enterprise sort of segment, that got far more well understood, meaning the need for being digital got accelerated like by a big margin, right? And even the most traditional of companies, even the most traditional of functions coming back and telling us, hey, we want to transform now. Tell us how, right? So one thing that we've seen is 3-4 years worth of shift in thinking in terms of being digital. It's definitely happening.
I think that's a tremendous value for companies like yourself. In fact, a lot of that's the whole tech growth industry for 2020 has been propelled by the fact that digital transformation has been done in compressed time.
Absolutely.
So what are your expansion plans for the region and over the next 12 months?
Absolutely. And Brian, one thing that I just want to call out before I say that was, we are very, very excited about the Asia opportunity. Right? Again, meaning we strongly believe that the century is going to be Asia's century. All the numbers indicate that, great growth rates. For example, the market that we operate in, right? The market size is basis the organized workforce that exists in a geography. Asia has the largest organized workforce in the world. That is consequently our market. And the organized workforce count is almost twice that of developed markets, growing very, very, very rapidly. The third, cloud adoption rates in the region are twice the global average. And these are numbers that I'm talking about pre-COVID and post-COVID, like we talked about, right? These numbers would have only spiked. So we are very, very excited about the opportunity. And like we said, we've been seeing great traction. The last 2 quarters have been the best quarters in Darwinbox history. So our expansion will go unabated in the target geographies that we are in. Like I said, in the short to medium run, these are the geographies: Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East are our focus areas. In Southeast Asia, we have a great motion going. Like I said, Singapore, Indonesia, where we've been around for more than 2 years, understand the geographies well. Now doubling down on both those regions. The intent is across the entire Southeast Asian geography to grow by 3.5 times by the end of this calendar year from where we are. And that will be...
Where do you see the challenges though, in terms of your execution? So your focus areas are there. Where do you see potential roadblocks and how are you overcoming them?
Absolutely. So one, of course, is it's very important to understand, have an expansion strategy by geography. It's important to note that each of these countries is very, very unique. And which is why one thing that I want to say was the Southeast Asia, meaning the region is the most important part of our 5-year vision, which is why our commitment to the geography from the beginning, from day zero, has been very, very high. And we show our commitment, like I said, we didn't want to do the geography half-heartedly. We always hired on the ground. We have a 10 plus member team or a 12 member team in Indonesia. We have a 10 member team in Singapore.
And what's the total number in terms of your total team across the region?
25 plus people, Brian.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
And like I said, we have presence on the ground in Philippines as well. We have presence on the ground in Vietnam as well. Both geographies that we opened last quarter. For example, last quarter in the Philippines, we had a great run. One of the largest conglomerates in the Philippines, a group called the JG Group, signed up with us with a group for a group-wide advanced talent management sort of mandate. One of the largest BPOs in Philippines, right? This is the SPI Global Group. They signed up with us. So we signed up with 3 clients in Vietnam last quarter. So these are geographies that we opened up recently, but we're seeing a great degree of traction in. And this quarter, like I said, Thailand and Malaysia are the geographies that we intend to open.
Now you've just raised a $15 million funding round led by stellar investors like Salesforce Ventures. Now, also your existing investors like Sequoia Capital and Lightspeed Venture Partners have also come along. So again, as I said, blue chip list of investors. Kind of walk us through your fundraising journey from your startup stage in 2015 up to this point.
Great question, Brian. And one thing that I wanted to say was that we've been very, very fortunate and lucky with investors, and not just raising a round of capital from, but also immensely getting benefited from their counsel and advice. We've been very, very lucky from that perspective. And in terms of our own journey, raised a seed round, Brian, in 2016, and raised our series.
And how much was that?
That was close to $1 million.
Okay.
And then
so it's a nice size seed round as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And then we raised a round of capital from Lightspeed. That was a $4 million round. And I think great partners. I think, and Lightspeed, you should note, is one of the more extremely well-known enterprise-focused software investors globally, right? In the Valley, backed great enterprise companies. Take a Nutanix, an AppDynamics, a MuleSoft, a Gainsight, a ThoughtSpot. Great companies that they backed, right? But we were their first enterprise investment in Asia. So that way, a major feather in the cap. Then in 2019, raised a round of capital from Sequoia. Very humbling, more than anything, because this is the world's most well-known venture capitalist.
Exactly, yes.
Backed so many companies that I consider personal icons, right? Meaning somebody like an Apple, a Google, a LinkedIn, a WhatsApp, and Instagram. Great companies that they backed in their journey. And we felt that their ability to add value to ours was extremely high. They've seen so many journeys like ours globally, right? So we felt we could learn from that partnership, and they've been tremendously helpful as well. Then the Salesforce round, which happened more recently, which was the latest one. And this one specifically, Brian, the original plan, there was no intention to raise in 2020, 2021, right? Because we had enough capital on our balance sheet. We had a very strong balance sheet. we made.
What are your numbers like? What are your top line and bottom line numbers like?
I mean, like I said, I can only share that we've grown really, really well, Brian, but not at liberty to disclose what the top line number is like.
But give us an idea, maybe a range, perhaps, like, you know, what sort of company are we looking at?
Again, Brian, like I said, I will reserve my comments on that one. But like I said, we've grown at least by 250 to 300% YOY from the beginning of the journey, right? That will give you some sense of where we are. But important, like I said, the reason why and what was exciting for us in this round was we made an exception because it was Salesforce. Right? This is the greatest cloud company on the planet. The word SaaS got coined by them in some sense, and they're synonymous with the cloud for the longest time. And we're really excited about the ability to learn from them. Like I said, 20 years of scaling globally. So there's so much to learn from them on product, on tech, on platformization, on how you can maximize value delivered to your customers. That was really, really exciting about the partnership. And I think the cherry on the cake was that we were one of their first investments in Asia. And they chose us. Was like I said, very humbling for us. And like I said, we are really, really excited about the partnership to learn from them.
Jayant, what's the plan in terms of, so you've got these stellar investors, the investor wants returns. That's why they've invested in you. So what's the plan and what's the exit strategy for you and the investors?
Let me maybe answer it this way. And Brian, for me, as a founding group, as an investor group, I think we have a very long-term focus. This is, in my mind, the first 6 years of a 20-year journey. I see at least another 10, 15 years of journey in front of us. And our goal has always been that Asia historically has not been known for great enterprise software companies, right? Meaning we've given the world a lot of great brands, but not so many in the enterprise software space. And we want to change that. And our aspiration is to be a great software product story from Asia for the world. That is our aspiration. And like I said, it is just the beginning of the journey. And I believe this, right? And maybe in terms of exit or exit strategy, our only thinking internally is I believe we are solving a very, very important problem for a customer.
Jayant, final question for you actually. Yeah. What advice would you give tech startups now, in 2021?
The same advice that I give, meaning I don't know if I'm at a stage where I can give advice, Brian, but the only thing that I'll say, which is the mantra that we live by in the company is, meaning focus intensely on the customer, meaning he'll be the answer to a lot of questions that you have. And like I said, our belief is that, right, continue that intense focus. And if you're solving right problems for a customer and you're solving them well, and you focus on scaling meaningfully, I think good outcomes will come.
Jayant, thank you very much for coming on Asia's Hottest Startup Show. We've been speaking to the sales marketing head and co-founder of Darwinbox, Jayant Paleti, on BizTech's Asia's Hottest Startup Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. Check out www.biztech.asia for business and technology conversations.